Hey guys, really quick, wanted to follow up with the message that I sent everybody earlier with the issue with requirements stuff. And so I'm going to do a really quick tutorial on that. Hopefully this works out well. Let's see. All right, so first we're going to start with Life Manager. So my POL and then all apps. This is essentially your back office, right? So we're going to go to Life Manager, and then we're going to go into issued with requirements. Now, obviously my Life Manager is going to look a whole lot different than yours. And so what we're going to do though is go down to issued with requirements with the delivery requirement. That just means that the policy came back somewhat different than what you quoted the client, right? So that means we either need some money because they were table rated, maybe a child was removed from a rider, anything that came back for the policy, it went COD and now we got to get back and deliver, and it was perfect, but now we just have to get money. All those are reasons that you would have an issued with requirement for a policy. It doesn't mean anything necessarily bad, it just is, okay? And so really quick though, if you have a policy that comes back issued with requirements and the client was table rated, real quick tutorial on that. You're going to want to call your client and let them know, like, hey, Bob, Sue, Joan, whatever, right? Your policy's back, great news. It's approved, your policy is issued. We need to get together, do a delivery at some point, sometime this week. I don't have anything in front of me right now in terms of your policy. Just when's a good time to get together? You know, sometime this week. I got an opening on Tuesday or Wednesday. Does that work for you? No. What about, you know, Thursday, Friday, whatever, right? Just go through your yes questions, get them on your calendar, ideally this week, because you need to get it approved, or you need to get their signature so that you can get it processed. Okay. Now we're going to go through a demo today. I've already built one and kind of gone through some of the wickets on that, and so hopefully the share works out correctly on this one. So let's do this. So we're going to jump over. This one is a policy that was issued with requirements. The agent went and did all the right things, right? They requoted the client. So what you would want to do now, this fictitious person is a real person, so I've gone and redacted everything, but they were table rated table 3. And so in order to do that, right, it says issued at premium class table 3, waiver of premium denied. So anytime you get a client that comes back table rated, waiver of premium is automatically gone. And so that's going to offset the price down a little bit, but now they were table rated table 3. So you need to go back and figure out what that cost. And so this is actually page like late 50. So this is 56. This is the amendment document. Below that, you're going to have the back-end change form. This is where you can actually decrease the length of coverage, decrease the amount of coverage, and decrease the term length, excuse me. So this one, they wanted to go down to 50,000 instead of 65. They were already at a 10 year, so they couldn't go any lower. So decreased coverage is checked. That's great. And they should have kept it with a check mark in the 10-year box, but they've got it over here. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? Then down here, you just want to make everything as plain language as possible so that you really can't screw it up. And then I always have agents add in the new monthly modal premium that they calculated in the quick quote tool, because that way they know for sure exactly what their client has to pay, right? And so go down here, the client was originally quoted at $56.07 for his 10-year 65 at his age. That's the $88.57 now is what he would have to pay should he want to keep it the same, right? And so what he would owe then is $32.50. Now, in order to do that, he has to do it on an MRN form. That's this. It's just a money request form. Now, this is a one-time authorization for an additional amount. So assuming the client wanted all the coverage, right? It would be the owner, the policy number, $32.50 here, agent name, rep ID, banking information, self-explanatory, right? Now we're assuming that since we know this client went down in coverage amount and his new monthly modal premium is $69.37, well, he had $56.07 in-house, so we need $13.30, right? So the MRN would authorize that one time, get that in, now we're good to go. Now here's a cool pro tip, right? If you have a client that's issued with requirements and table rated and whatever, price went up, no matter why. If you can get them back within $9.99 of their original amount that they submitted, right? So if we could get Mr. John Doe back in to a policy that's below $66, right? We know for a fact at that point that we don't have to collect any extra money. Primerica actually eats that first one, $9.99 all the way to that. They'll eat that first amount. When the client's billing picks up on the next cycle, it'll just go to whatever that new monthly modal premium is, okay? And so really quick, we're gonna jump over to, let's see. We're gonna jump over here because I've already got the quote built, right? And so now, in order to come down, we wanna make sure we get everything set up the way the old policy was first. And let's make sure we're actually sharing this. I'm on the quick quote tool here. Let's just make sure that we're actually sharing this. Okay, so now we're on the quick quote tool. I got 65,000 and 88.55. So if you remember from the policy, we were around 88 bucks. And so now we're table 3, that's correct. Now, if we went back to regular, it was 56 and change or 52 and change. And so we know we're in the right ballpark, right? And so we'll go back to table 3. Now remember, we dropped it down on the policy to 10 years and 50,000, 69.37. So we're exactly where we're supposed to be. Now, if we wanted to keep this at that 66 range, right, or below, so the client didn't have to pay anything up front, 47,000 is probably where we would need to be. We can double check 6 or 48, but it's probably gonna go over, yeah. 47,000. Now, if we did 47,000, it's totally doable. The quote tool allows us to do it. He can have 10 years, 47, doesn't have to pay anything right now, and then moves on, right? And so let's go back to the actual documents. So when we get these, there are a minimum of 3 documents you need to send back to the office manager and myself so that we can track these and process it through Platinum, okay? So issued with requirements, you're gonna send back an amendment, print it off as a PDF on a single page. And so really easy to do that, right? Go to print the PDF and select the page number. Save it as amendment. Like I always save it as the client name and amendment, right? Then the next document down in issued with requirement is the backend change form. No brainer, right? Print the PDF, save it as client name dash BEC, backend change form. Plain language, right? Whatever it changed to, even if the client said, nope, I want all of it, I totally understand, I didn't even expect to get approved, let alone, right, a table rating that was so low, so good for me. Even if there's no change, just put on the comments right here, no change, sign and date, call it a day. So that's the backend change for an amendment. Now, you're always going to have either a policy delivery receipt that goes with it, or depending on your state, a basic illustration. If you sign and return a basic illustration, that's essentially a policy delivery receipt is like in its own. And so always a minimum of 3 documents, amendment, backend change form, and then either the policy delivery receipt or the basic illustration. Sometimes you're going to have a 4th document, and that's going to be that MRN form if you didn't get back within $9.99. Fair? Okay, so those are the 4 docs. Each one of those in a separate PDF, because when we send this forward to Platinum and they do the processing with those, each one of those has to be imaged. And so if we send them one giant doc and they have to separate it, well, guess what? It's going to take longer for your stuff to get processed and longer for you to get paid and all those sorts of things. So for our agents, we will always make it as easy as possible on Platinum because that makes it easier for them to pay us faster. Okay, so that's the plan, always. So in this situation, you don't need this. This was just that way for you to check how much money is in-house versus what we owe. Again, back within $9.99, doesn't require anything. And so we're going to go through that really quick because we're going to go to the basic illustration next. But that's kind of it in a nutshell, guys. Remember, if you have a client that's issued with requirements and they were table rated, give them a call, tell them the good news that their policy is issued, right? Always lead with good news. Inevitably, invariably, they're going to ask, how much does it cost? Did anything change? Never call them with the policy in front of you. Here's why. Because now you can call and say, hey, Mr. Bob, got your policy back. It's issued. It's great. Some minor changes, right? You were rated, so things got a little bit more expensive. I don't have your policy in front of me, so I don't know. When's a good time to get together to make sure we can get this coverage enforced for you, right? That's how you lead in and set that up. Because if you have it in front of you, well, now you're potentially lying to the client. You may have looked at it. You may know exactly what it costs. But your answer and your response is going to be, I don't have it in front of me right now. But when we get back together, we'll go over everything and make sure you completely understand all of it. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Awesome. So when's better for you this week? I've got Tuesday, Wednesday right now wide open, whatever's good for you. And then just start working your yes, yes, and narrow it down until you're in the calendar. Okay. That's it for right now, guys. Remember, this is issued with requirements and with a table rating, and then all of those documents as standalone PDFs signed. If you don't want to DocuSign back and forth with the client, then if they're on with you live, I always just go to the PDF and fill and sign, and I just say, hey, Mr. Bob, look, if everything's good with you, you don't have to sit here and watch me do paperwork. Once we got the banking information in, I'll create a digital signature for you. I'll take care of all this paperwork and get it into my office manager, and we'll be good to go. Is that okay with you? And I show them how I'm going to make that digital signature in Adobe. You literally just pull up signature and type their name, right? It's not complicated. If they're not good with that, well, then you need a DocuSign or a PDF sign, something, right? But I've never had a client that was on a Zoom with me be frustrated or not comfortable with me just doing all the paperwork, them not having to sit there and watch me do it, and then making their lives easier, making sure they got the coverage they need. Okay. All right, guys. Thanks. If you have questions, DM me afterwards and let me know. I'm going to drop this on the channel right now. Have a good night. Bye.